Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by Congressional reporter JulieGrace Brufke. JulieGrace, the Missouri Republican Senate primary continues to be one of the more contentious races in the country. Eric Greitens, the former governor, is kind of at the center of that. You wrote a story about a former friend of his, I think former might be the right modifier there, who's weighed in on the Greitens candidacy. What did this person have to say?
That is a wild race. So his former business partner, they had started a nonprofit for veterans together, released a video on Twitter this week that was calling for him to drop out of the race, kind of taking aim. He recently had a controversial campaign ad that involved him, I guess...
A lot of use of guns and...
Rhino hunting, I think, was
rhino
the ad,
hunting,
which,
yes.
I mean, he said was in jest, but a lot of people were saying incites violence. So yes,
Republican in name only,
yes.
as opposed to rhinoceroses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So his, I guess now former friend was saying, I mean, given the domestic abuse allegations that his ex-wife came out against him with, that he needs to work on his family life and feels that he needs to remove himself from that primary.
Before the rhino hunting incident, the family situation had been one of the major reasons a lot of Republicans had misgivings about Greitens, but just the general combativeness with which Greitens has approached his political persona has been off-putting to some.
He's had, I mean, obviously he stepped down as governor back in the day over a huge sex scandal that also involved blackmail, and so he released an ad, I think yesterday, that where he was saying that people have gone after him for fighting for conservative policies, but I mean, you've seen all sorts of conservatives from Missouri kind of speak out, raising concerns that Trump will endorse him, or that people kind of coming out and endorsing the other candidates in the race. And I mean, it's really neck and neck between the three of them. You've got Vicky Hartzler, you've got the AG Eric Schmidt, and they're all kind of polling within the margin of error of one another. So it's going to be interesting how things pan out.
And so that's been kind of one of the big debates of the Trump era. Like, some people are saying that we need to be more appealing to suburban voters, and Republicans can't be seen as too in your face. But there are a lot of Republican primary voters who really like somebody who doesn't seem to be afraid of the media or any outside criticism.
There's definitely a firebrand. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Trump gets in there and endorses. And I mean, he obviously likes big personalities. We've seen him endorse Dr. Oz. We saw him kind of get behind J.D. Vance. I think it seems like Eric Greitens kind of might be seen a little more as notorious than famous, though. So we'll see how that ultimately pans out.
Right. So in the Senate, there's a little bit of an impasse over this bill that's supposed to improve U.S. competitiveness against China. And there are some Republicans in the Senate, you've written about this, who don't really think at least that version of the legislation really accomplishes that goal. What are some of their criticisms?
So, I mean, right now, both chambers passed their respective bills on that, and foreign policy hawks have kind of been adamant that it's a huge thing they need to tackle to try and combat China trying to overtake the U.S. as a major economic power. And but there's definitely some concerns on the Republican side that some of the language in the Senate bill that they're pushing not to be in the ultimate conference bill would kind of limit the tools that are currently in place to be able to kind of put economic pressure on China swiftly that were used by the previous administration.
And so, given some other things going on in the Senate, this bill faces an uncertain future anyway. But Democrats are trying to restart their reconciliation talks. They want to have some kind of a Democrats-only spending bill, even if they can't get this massive one that was basically stalled late last year. What's some of the status of that, and how does this tie in at all to this China bill?
So we've seen Mitch McConnell came out and recently said that if Democrats move forward with this reconciliation bill, which would involve them kind of rolling back some of the GOP tax cuts, and I believe there's language in there that Joe Manchin's kind of expressed support, some support for on allowing Medicare to be able to negotiate drug prices. So,
which is one of the things that makes people think this has a chance of happening, because Manchin has at least expressed support for this provision.
He and Kirsten Sinema were kind of the two that kind of kept the larger bill from coming into fruition last year. So his being amenable to that definitely kind of signals that things are, for Democrats, moving in a direction where things could pass both chambers. And I know that the party's definitely looking for some wins, given the current economic conditions and
Midterm elections
with midterm
coming up.
elections, that they kind of need that. So Mitch McConnell has said that if they move forward with this and ultimately pass it, that Republicans will kill the China bill. So it's an interesting dynamic right now.
So they'd have to trade one win for the other.
So yeah, that's kind of where things stand with that right now.
So now they don't really have a lot of time, though. So they're going to come back into session, and they're going to then leave again, right? In a
They've got a few
relatively short
weeks,
period
and
of time.
then August recess. They're back for September, mostly out in October, and then it's elections. So they definitely are working with a limited amount of time there. And as the election grows closer, I feel like members kind of just place more of a focus on the races. So
Right, they're going to want to go home and campaign.
exactly. So some of these closer races, they're going to have to move quickly on this.
So school's not quite out for the summer, but it's close.
Not quite. But yeah, they're definitely trying to push ahead and get some major things done.
Some mid-July fireworks to come. Thank you, Julie Grace. You can read Julie Grace and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.